So this is going to be my first video, and it's going to be a lore video. I've just watched EpicNate's video on Fallout's space lore. It's a brand new video, came out a couple hours ago, I believe, as of making this video. I'm just going to go through my interpretation of the lore that he mentioned, and from going over some of my own headcanon. So we're going to start on the segment. EpicNate mentions specifically a possible alternate alien faction in the Fallout universe. I personally have thought the Mysterious Stranger seems more fitting after learning more about the character's lore. In the lore, the Mysterious Stranger is mentioned there is mention of possible different Mysterious Strangers, and the fact that the emissary introduced in Fallout 76 can seemingly disappear really pushes my belief that the Mysterious Strangers play a large part in Fallout's lore. Also, with the knowledge that they could travel and stop time, and possibly through time, thanks to the Fallout 4's comic Astoundingly Awesome Tales number 8, The Man Who Could Stop Time, the Mysterious Strangers could be extraterrestrial in origin rather than supernatural. Also, one of the lines said by the emissary calls the player neighbour. This could likely mean that he is from a neighbouring planet or star system rather than an inhabitant of Earth. Though this is headcanon is of my origin and only works if you put all the strings of lore together, and it's still flimsy at best until Bethesda produces solid lore for the Zetans, the Emissary, the Moon Conflict, the Mysterious Stranger, and the relating lore. This will just remain a theory. Anyway, this particular headcanon includes Mysterious Stranger and similar entities having been present throughout time fighting a war with the Zetans. More to this is the section of Nate's video on the Fallout space lore, a terminal entry with no clear status as canon or non-canon is from the segment on the National Radio Astronomy Research Center in a terminal which you cannot access in-game, states that a signal received from space mentions a communication from an alien species and their arrival on Earth. More specifically, one of the legible lines from the terminal that can be read from the game's files reads exactly, "Prepare yourself for destruction by your life by fire when you arrive." When I read this line, I read it as a response from the humans sent out to the incoming communication. This isn't clear at all in the terminal entry. However, this could be read as is that the US government was willing to fire, most likely nukes, to destroy the source of the signal, which may be a subtle way of saying that the Great War was started when the US government fired a nuke at an approaching alien craft. Also, in this same terminal entry, it states, "Life weakens, protect what remains here on Earth," which could mean that the aliens knew that the Great War was going to happen and are planning to protect what is left of Earth afterwards. Maybe they can see or access the future and are sending a form of warning to Earth beforehand. What I can definitely say on this head canon is that the Mysterious Strangers or the faction behind them are from either a neighbouring planet or star system and trying to warn humanity about the Zetans. I believe a neighbouring planet works best for this headcanon as it allows the emissary and Homo Sapien, who seems to be linked to this faction, not knowing much about the Zetans and are conducting research on the Zetans themselves. This also aids in the clear fact that Homo Sapien is not a human from all his interactions of Fallout 76, but an alien trying to pass himself as a human. I will also point out, though, the emissary does talk to the player, like Homo sapiens. However, it's always strange and oddly non-human-like, like Homo sapiens, as none of the mysterious strangers speak to the player in Fallout or anyone else. We don't know how they would react really, because they don't speak, so we wouldn't know if they seemed more alien than like Homo sapiens in the emissary, really. A key bit of lore about the mysterious stranger's presence during the games is that that all the strangers seem to aid the player in certain events and keep them alive during battle. Each player character plays some larger part in humanity's fate after the Great War, and possibly a conflict between the Zetans and the faction behind the mysterious strangers. The fact that Fallout 76 not plays out not long after the Great War, and that one of the strange disappearing people in the wasteland is named Emissary is some sort of clear link. Another key fact about that is even Fallout 76 takes place before Fallout 1. Though I don't know what crossover there could be there. The emissary must play a connection between mysterious strangers and the inhabitants of the wasteland, giving meaning as to why several mysterious strangers have aided significant individuals throughout the Fallout's timeline. My headcanon states that the emissary was sent to represent the mysterious stranger faction and establish some form of peace treaty or something that later aids specifically the player characters throughout Fallout's timeline, and only appears in the Bethesda's world in slow time during VATS events, the Vault-Tec targeting events where it slows down time. This links back to the comic about the man who could stop time, as the strangers seemingly can travel through slow and stopped time. Clearly there have been some reports of a man having the ability to stop time pre-war. Having another look at the comics cover, is also clearly has an image of the Milky Way galaxy in the background of the cover art, which means it's a clearer link to something more extraterrestrial rather than supernatural. My final note is that the emissary, the mysterious strangers, and the character on the cover for the man who could stop time wear very similar outfits. The emissary wears a black suit. The man on the comic wears a I can see what is this, beige trench coat over a dark coloured suit, and the mysterious strangers wear a beige trench coat over some form of suit, so that there seems to be some sort of overlap with this piece of information, which is interesting. Also want to go into some of the lore relating to the comic books. I'm trying to find there it is. Specifically the Tesla Science Magazine World Exclusive issue that was mentioned in EpicNate's video. The US Army goes to space, with the artwork of some sort of robotic suit preparing to be launched to space. I can guess from what the image is. It does look sort of like a Protectron now that I stare at it a bit longer, in a way, with more of a glass head, because it looks like a helmet of a spacesuit, but you can clearly see that it wouldn't fit a human being. It's clearly a robot, and the backpack actually sort of looks like the back, which has got an extra set of arms, mind you, clearly looks like a lunar landing craft, somewhat similar to the one in universe. Sorry, but I will say this: It's clear that there was something that went on in Fallout's lore relating to the moon or space in general, most likely the moon, seeing as there is stated in Fallout 4's, specifically in in the Museum of Freedom, or whatever it is, specifically specifically a conflict taking place in the Sea of Tranquility. So clearly some conflict significant enough for them to launch possibly going by the information that EpicNate gave, is it Sentinel Prime or something like Liberty Prime size robot to the moon. I also want to point out that the communists are stated to have a Liberty Prime sized war machine, two at least, judging by the posters that are plastered around the Fallout 4 world, that mentions building, the Americans building their own counterpart machine. So clearly there is at least 4 large Liberty Prime robots in the Fallout universe, 2 of them being Russian, possibly one a lunar version and a Earth version. Same with Liberty Prime being the Earth one and its counterpart wielding an American flag on the moon. Also, pointing out in EpicNate's videos is 2 comic books that I have in front of me now. The Astoundingly Awesome Tales, unsure what issue it is because it was damaged. Invasion of the Zetans clearly does show the Fallout 4 style, at least from that point onwards, color coded anyway, Zetans, but possibly more in the Fallout 3 style of alien, as well as a comic by Robco, Fun, with an unclear issue number, Zeta Invaders, which comes with the free holotape. It doesn't look like the spaceship's a Zetan, which could mean at the point of this comic book's release, it was unclear what the Zetans looked like and what ships they flew, as the alien in the background has 5 eyeballs and looks very different from the image on the Astoundingly Awesome Tales comic, which is what the Zetans actually look like. So it's clear that they knew it was from they were known as Zetans or Zeta, judging by the name of the comic book being Zeta Invader or Zetan Invaders, but that's all they knew when they made this comic book. But yeah, it is clear that the Zetans, or Zetans, however you want to pronounce it, have invaded, in a sense, Earth throughout history, thanks to Fallout 3's DLC, the invasion-based DLC. I do believe that the Mysterious Strangers are some time-traveling faction, possibly time-traveling, it's not clear, who have done their best to fight off the Zetans, who have been observing and taking people from Earth for several thousand years. It is unclear how old the Zetans are, and it is also unclear about the Mysterious Strangers. Another thing I'd like to point out is Nate has a whole section of his lore videos based on eldritch gods in the Fallout universe. That's something I think needs to be looked at, is whether the alternate faction is either the Zetans work under the eldritch gods, which could be possible, and why they're malevolent towards humans, or that they're a third space faction out there that either the Zetans are unaware of, and also possibly the mysterious strangers are as well, or the mysterious strangers are tied to the linked to the Eldritch gods, as well as the being perceived as Atom by the worshippers of Atom in Fallout lore. Atom could quite clearly be, or could be, a sort of eldritch god from Fallout lore that could be sort of trying to play itself as not eldritch in a way. Is something closer to what the humans perceive as God in the Christian sense, from a point of view, rather than something more Cthulhu-like, which is our best really version of eldritch gods. But it does seem there is possibly a tie with eldritch gods or beings that we perceive, that the humans of the Fallout universe perceive as gods, being a third or second, however you want to, whatever perspective you want to take on it, spacefaring species. At least spacefaring, they could be higher than the standard spacefaring level, if you want to say it that way, using more of an abilities to travel the universe rather than spacecraft like the Zetans do, which is interesting. And I also like to point out, yes, there is sort of a eldritch horror way that the Zetans are, but they do seem kind of weak compared to how some of these gods have been portrayed. So unless they're like some lesser species that are, unless the Zetans are some sort of lesser species that worship these elder gods that either in a way look like a species created directly from possibly the elder gods or something like that, it is a bit unusual how they're physically weaker and rely on technology, seeing as humans who don't rely on the technology so much in Fallout lore, who are physically stronger, do worship these elder gods and slightly seem more favoured, with the general bits of lore that they have extended certain individuals' lifespans and have had some sort of effect on the physical realm during certain games. It is very unique, that though. You have to really look into it, but I'm not going to go too much more into that now. But it does seem that at least these eldritch entities that were really introduced through the was it the Dunwich Company throughout the Fallout franchise are clearly some sort of extraterrestrial species, whether they be like the Zetans, higher in some sort of galactic scale than the Zetans. They clearly aren't human of origin. They could be Earth origin, older than humanity, having lived on Earth before humanity did, or they could be quite literally an extraterrestrial species that visited Earth and that humans see as gods, which might be a sort of a way why the Zetans are interested in humanity, is because they are aware of this space-faring eldritch species and hoping to find some sort of link through the human psyche to a weakness to these eldritch beings, seeing as the Zetans have kidnapped many humans to sort of psychologically experiment on a lot of them. It might also be because some of our weapons, like the nuclear ones, could be powerful enough to damage such entities. However, it is unclear. But it does seem radiation has a link to these eldritch beings, which, because we wiped ourselves out with nuclear weapons, or humans wiped themselves out with nuclear weapons, that there seems to be sort of a link between the splitting of the atom in an explosive sense does have a link to either communicating to these eldritch beings or harming these eldritch beings that the Zetans might be interested in learning how to do, because they have plasma, but I don't know if they did use nuclear technology, or maybe it's a lost technology to them. Going off of some sci-fi based lore, some species lose the knowledge of certain technology, so maybe they lost nuclear technology in their past when they progressed to the what's it again, the plasma based technology. Because of their plasma technology, they lost how to use nuclear technology, and it was so long ago in their past they can't remember it. So who knows? But it is interesting that Nate forgot about that in his videos. But I will say, check out his content if you want to know more about that, really. Alright, thanks for listening and watching, I guess. I'm going to say it, like and subscribe. Thanks.